Welcome back to my kitchen and cook from the past. Today I'm going to sort of extend what I did on a prior video. On that video I took a 16-pound raw turkey and cut it into different portions. For the breast meat I canned it into 4 separate pints of canned meat and did it in a pressure canner. I cut the legs off and we used that for 4 servings for dinner. I also used the giblets and some of the meat that came after I soaked the carcass in the stock. The dog got that, and so then that left me with, well, I'll show you. So this is only half of what came off of the carcass after it came out of the stock preparation. So this is going to be made into like a Stroganoff type of meal tonight. And we're going to continue with that in just a moment here. But the other half that is still in the refrigerator, I'm going to make it into a turkey pot pie with a very, very simple biscuit topping. So take a look at my videos for that. So we're using one turkey carcass in a multiple of ways. I took the meat that was at the breast, removed it from the bone, processed it in the pressure canner, and that gave us 4 pints of nice cooked turkey meat. I removed the 2 legs and those became 4 servings, adult servings, for a dinner for one night. The entire carcass, after I removed the skin, went into a stock pot with vegetables, and that became 23 pints of beautiful turkey stock. And there is another video that you can take a look here to find out how we got to this point where we've got some leftover meat to use. And oh, and by the way, the dog had a wonderful dinner also between the giblets that came with the turkey and the small pieces of meat that came out of the stock pot. She had a really phenomenal meal. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. I'll move the camera forward so that you can see how I'm making this very simple meal. It's a cold day after having temperatures in the 70s. It's cold and blustery and spinning snow. So this is a really nice meal that will be hot and really stick to your ribs. So I'm going to change the camera so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, the first thing that I need to do is get the pan heated, and I do have that going right now. I've got 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm only going to use 2 to start off with, and that's to get the onions and the mushrooms cooked. And after they're cooked, they're going to be removed from the pan, and I will start making a sauce. Now, I forgot to get my compost bowl here. I'll clean up in a while. I'm going to use 1 onion. This one I would say it's on the small to medium size. And I'm just going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to make 1/4 inch cuts across it like that and get them into the pan with the butter. You don't need to really separate them out. They'll separate on their own as they're cooking. I'm going to cook these 2 vegetables one at a time because mushrooms have a lot of moisture in them, and if you put them in too soon, you could end up with kind of a soupy mess with the onions in the pan. So we're going to just get these onions cooking first and just kind of until they're translucent. In the meantime, I have the pot going under this. There we go. In the meantime, I have the pot going that we're going to use to boil the noodles. And they actually take quite a while to cook, so I am going to go ahead and get them going. The water is already boiling. And I'm only going to use about half of the bag because they do expand quite a bit. And I'm only making enough for 2 people. All right, we are good to go on that. Just give it a quick stir so nothing sticks. It's already been salted, so it's ready to go. While I'm waiting for the onions to cook, I will get my mushrooms sliced. I'm pretty much just slicing whole pieces like this. I think it looks very attractive once it's done in the fully prepared meal. I'm just going to keep these on the tray while those onions are cooking. If the mushrooms are very large, you can also just cut them in half and then do the same. Maybe I'll just do that with the rest of these. They're a pretty good size. Make sure you are using a knife that is good and sharp, because you have a greater chance of injuring yourself if you have to press down too hard because your knife is not sharp. Onions are coming along nicely. And let me give these noodles a quick stir again to keep them sticking to the bottom. I put salt in my pan. If you don't use salt or you don't want to have additional salt, go ahead and leave that out. That's not necessary. You can always salt the dish to taste later on. If there's any other vegetables that you want to add to this, you certainly can, but I prefer just to have the flavor of the onions and mushrooms shine by themselves. But again, do whatever works for you. If you have someone in your family who does not care for mushrooms, and I realize mushrooms are one of those things that are kind of funny. I don't think any of my kids were real fond of mushrooms. And so I generally left those out. But if you have kids that love them, then absolutely go ahead and put mushrooms in. With the mushrooms and onion, you'll pretty much get the kind of flavor profile that you're going to want with this dish anyway. All right, those onions are looking pretty good, so I'm just going to pull them from the pan and set them aside here until the mushrooms are done. And in they go. I have found that if I sprinkle just a little bit of salt on the mushrooms, they will give up their liquid a little faster, and so that will make this process go more quickly. They don't want to really have to add any more butter, and so if they start to cook in their own juices, that is definitely what you want them to do. Stirring those noodles again. All right, the other ingredients I'm going to be using are some home canned milk. Once you can 4% milk, this is grass-fed milk, 4%. Once you can it at home, it takes on a flavor that's a lot like evaporated milk. So if you don't have the home canned milk, and most people don't, you can certainly use evaporated milk. I've also got some broth from some turkey stock left over from the canning. I've got 2 tablespoons of flour. The turkey, I would say it's 1.5 to 2 cups probably. And then I've got another 2 tablespoons of butter, and that's what we're going to use for making the sauce for the pasta. All right, I'm going to put the lid on this pan with the mushrooms. I want them to sweat just a little bit. I don't want to put any more butter in there. I will if I have to, but if I just sweat them this way with the top on, they'll let go of their fluid and it will cook a lot faster. In the meantime, I'm going to tidy up a little bit here, get rid of some of this. Normally, I would save those little bits from the oven and put them in a bag in my freezer, so when I had plenty of bits of scraps of onion and celery, carrot, that kind of thing, I can put them in a stock pot to make some more stock. However, I'm in the process of kind of cleaning out refrigerators right now, so I don't have a bag available to do that. Another stir on the pasta. I'm actually going to see how it's doing, if it's ready to be, hard to catch one. See if it's ready yet. It's getting close. You for sure don't want to let that pasta get overcooked. fact, I think I'm going to get a measuring cup here and hold back a little bit of the pasta water just in case we need some more liquid. It's a good idea to do that anytime you're making pasta that's going to have a sauce on it, just in case you'll need a little bit more. I'm just going to give that another minute because I don't want it to get overcooked. It's going to cook a little bit more once you combine it with the sauce. All right, just putting the lid on the mushrooms really helped quite a bit. Just a minute more with those. Oh, I did forget to mention, I've also got some sour cream here that I will probably add to it. I've only got about half a cup of sour cream left, so I think that would end up being very good in this dish. Okay, these mushrooms look about perfect. Let's see if I can turn it so you can see. And I'll just put them in the bowl where the onions are resting. Okay, into the same pan goes the rest of the butter. We're waiting for that to melt. I'm going to go ahead and take these noodles and drain them. Nothing worse than overcooked noodles, so you want to make sure you get them out before they are overdone. All right, that the butter is melted now, and so I'm going to add in that 2 tablespoons of flour. I'm just going to stir that a little bit around until it gets starting to brown and bubbly. There's already going to be a little brown on the bottom of this pan from cooking the mushrooms and the onions, and that's fine. That will all be flavor later on. So I forgot to open my canned milk. I'll get that done now. All right, the flour is browning. I'm now going to add the broth. I'm going to go with maybe half of it right now, and we'll see how it goes. We're wanting to make a sauce to go with the pasta. And rather it being heavy on the sort of turkey gravy flavor, we're going to be putting the milk. That will make it a more creamy flavor instead. All right, the sauce is thickening quickly. I'm just doing a little of this milk at a time. What I forgot to get is my pepper. Turn the heat up a little more. I'm going to start with just a quarter teaspoon of pepper. I'm going to hold off on the salt for a little bit. The last thing I will do is add the sour cream. You don't want the sour cream to go in too soon and be subjected to too great of a heat, otherwise it will curdle. Okay, I think I'm going to give it a little salt. I didn't measure, just kind of sprinkle it in. you can really tell that there's a mushroomy flavor in there as well. All right, rest of the milk is in. I'm sure you hear my dog barking in the background. She's a Great Pyrenees, and she's out on the front porch, and she's probably sees a squirrel or something that's got her going. So this is still pretty thin. I'm going to let it cook for a minute more, and then we'll come back and finish this off. It's a very quick meal, but it will really taste good when it's done. You probably heard me hollering at the dog, but she went right back to barking again. She knows I'm busy and won't have an opportunity to get after her. She's looking out over into the woods, like perhaps it's a fox she just saw. The foxes around here love to torment the dog. We've got a couple of them that frequently run through here. Okay, it's fairly thick already, and I'm stirring in the sour cream. And I'm only going to stir until that sour cream is pretty much dissolved in there. Again, you don't want your sour cream to curdle. So it's almost dissolved in the sauce, and at this point I'm going to throw in the meat so it can start heating through. This is a combination of white and dark meat from the carcass when it was turned into stock. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to get the noodles now. Stir those in. And I did leave those just a little bit undercooked because I did not want the noodles to get to the point of being overcooked when we put them back into the sauce. Give it a good stir, making sure none of the noodles are clumped together. Okay, I'm going to just sprinkle in maybe a teaspoon of dried parsley, just for a little color and a little bit more flavor. Okay, I think dinner is served. Let's get the onions and mushrooms for the last heat through, and we are good. Yum, that looks delish. See if I can hold this up so that you can see. I'm going to turn the heat off. Hold this up so you can see. And cook has to taste her own work before serving others, right? So I'm going to do that. Just make sure I get a little bit of everything in here. Well, we're done making the turkey stroganoff, and it's time to give it a try, right? That is so good. You can taste the noodles, the onion, mushrooms, turkey. You even taste that little half cup of sour cream we put in there. Thank you for coming. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And we will be making another video with the rest of the 2 cups of turkey that we still have reserved. It's going to be right up here. It's turkey pot pie with a very easy 2-ingredient crust. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen, and thank you for visiting with Cook from the Past.